Welcome to Season 2 of Pod Practice, where Mama Bird alumni Quinn Finer, Mikey Lund, and myself, Alex Atkins, talk about Ultimate from the perspective of players and coaches. We want to engage with you, so please reach out, say hi, ask a question, give some feedback. We look forward to talking with you. To reach out, follow us on Instagram or YouTube at podpractice_pod. Listen on Spotify at Pod Practice, or email us at show@podpracticepod.com. I hope you enjoy this episode.
Welcome to three-time national champions back to back to back. Oh shoot,
It's 4, right?
It's 4.
Is it 4?
Yeah, it's 4,
Holy
dude.
smokes, dude. I knew that, and it's just like such an absurd number. Okay, before we bring on Allison Reilly and Emily Kooski from the now 4-time defending national champs, North Carolina Pleiades, we thought we'd do a little catch up now that Quinn's back from Windmill and finally has a UFA game under his belt. Why do I feel good? During the San Diego game, TK asked me if I was having fun. I said, yeah. And he's like, is it because we're winning? And I said, I hope that's not the only reason.
But also,
That definitely helped. But I felt like just like the energy was good. And not just energy, but like my ability to give feedback to people in real time. I was able to talk to Oso efficiently enough. I felt like I thought we were doing a better job of coming together. And I also felt like I was able to check in with a few defensive lines, usually mostly about what they're doing offensively, but in a really supportive way. Like when we scored that one of those breaks, it was one where Chance took a shot to Jarvis, I think, and Jarvis scored. I think it was to Jarvis.
It's Logan.
It's Logan. And I brought him in, and it was like, that was sick. Like, because we possessed up until half field and then took like a more manageable shot, which was still like kind of aggressive, but
it was also after the timeout where you kept them on.
Yeah. Was it the same? Was it that point too?
Was it? I think it was. Yeah. Kins and I were. I won't speak for Kins, but I think I was so mad that you did that. I was so mad at you, and then they scored, and I looked at Kins and I looked at you and I said, can't argue with results.
And,
I was so fucking pissed though.
I was planning to call you guys, and TK was hype man, but he gave me one. He whispered in my ear and was like, I think we should keep them on. So I was like, okay, I'll do it.
They did move it a lot better after the timeout. Like they looked like they moved it the best I'd ever seen them.
They did, yeah.
So maybe the timeout just like lets them recollect, get their legs.
We had
back.
some specific focuses for the D lines and their offenses, you guys know, and I'm actually going to send a document out tonight. Just it'll be optional reading, but I've been excited. I think that's like as part of that. I think having like pretty clear things that I can help the team with is really helpful for me as a coach, because I think lately I felt that there just hasn't been much utility for me, like in games or at practice. And so I'm like, well, I'm driving an hour to practice to stand there and watch you guys do stuff, and then
not for
and then
filled.
just like stand there in games and watch us lose.
It's definitely like a weird, like what comes first for me, like the energy or because like on the like while the energy was better, we also were playing San Diego with one of the better O lines we had.
Yeah,
with like probably the best O line we'd had all year, and against the team that wasn't as good, and so it's like, and we definitely brought some good focus. Like we were more focused during it, but some of that I think is like feeding off of the fact that like we were flowing a little better. Like I think it's a balance. Like it's not like the energy dictates the results or the results dictates the energy. But like
they're so intertwined.
They're intertwined for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, I think I was probably a little bit more prepared than I have been recently as well, and that was helpful. And just like I think we were able to check in on a few specific things over and over throughout the game and tangibly understand if they were improving or not, rather than like a whole gamut of like just trying to diagnose the problem in real time.
Right. Well, and I think part of that is like with the line being better, you're not seeing as like when we're
true.
Like on the road trips and stuff, when we're losing, it'd be like, okay, we need to do this, this, and this. And especially by the end of that Minnesota game, and I realized like, yeah, guess what? Like there's 50 things that we could be doing better on a given point, and us talking about like 5 of them, like it's not going to change anything. Because at a certain point, it's like the player understands these things or they don't, and they're probably not going to be able, like, especially if it's like something that's more like of a habit of theirs, like it's not going to be fixed right now. And
I guess, on the note of better personnel, we had Quinn finally.
Finally.
So maybe we'll ask you first how it felt to come back and finally be playing your first UFA game of 2024.
Yeah, I mean, it felt really good. It was definitely hard sitting on the sideline and just like it would have been easier if we were winning. I think to sit on the sideline, obviously. I get. I don't know if it's the correct thing, but I just get a ton of guilt from sitting there watching us, not be successful in results oriented manner. So that was really hard for me, and hard for, I'm sure, other people that are hurt as well. But it felt really good to be back out there. I definitely didn't feel 100% in terms of like, not like, oh, I'm still hurt, but just like not as fast. Yeah, not as fast as I usually am. And then as far as like mentally, just like that's a little bit different. Just like look, like when you catch a disc and look upfield, when you've been playing consistently, what you see is like really, really familiar, obviously. Yeah. And I kept catching it and looking at field, and it just like, it took me an extra second to like process and understand what was happening, which was a little bit difficult. Yeah, it's different. And I think I was playing with like half the line I had never even played with on an O-line, too. And I think it was just a little bit different. So the combination of those two was a little bit difficult. But like when I caught it in a familiar spot with a familiar cutter, like with Kuhlman or Saeed, like it was like, okay, I'm just going to throw this far and they're going to catch it. So there was times that it was like mentally easier, but definitely like, I think me being a little bit like limited on my touches was probably a good thing. Calves cramped like a little bit, nothing terrible, but they just like, I just wasn't, just not fully there, which is totally fine. It was first game. Good to be back, but I don't know. I didn't have as much fun as I would have liked, I think. I don't really know why. Just kind of, I think the way that San Diego played D, they just kind of played. It wasn't like they gave up a lot. They just kind of fed you into a spot that you're like, okay, yeah, you can have an under, you can have this, you can have that. And that was just kind of like boring for me because they were just giving us boring stuff and not letting us have exciting things. And we basically just walked it down the field. And that was kind of frustrating and annoying. And
like you wanted a challenge.
I just wanted like a challenge, and I wanted like to be able to like have somebody actually guard me. Like nobody really guarded me. Like they just came down and stood 7 yards deep of me and just stood there. Like, and then they would switch a bunch, and it would just be, and it was just like, it was not a bad D in the UFA by any means, but just boring.
It makes me think of how, you haven't had a chance to compete at a high level for a while, and we'll ask you about Windmill in a second, but the other playing opportunity that you've had recently is with a bunch of superstars against a bunch of subpar Well, I shouldn't say subpar, but honestly, teams that are not at your level.
Yeah.
And I imagine you were probably chomping at the bit a little bit to have a bigger impact on a team, because nobody needs to have a huge impact on that team.
That's a really good point, because I was feeling almost the exact same way in a different manner, but I was feeling the same way after like the final of Windmill. Because Clapham is a really good team. Like, I think they're one of the better club teams in the world for sure. Like, if they were to compete at US Nationals, I think they would be, in the mix for a national championship. I don't think they would be the favorite, but they'd definitely be quarters, definitely vying for semis, finals. Like, they're a good team.
Yeah.
And but like the team that we have on USA Open, it's like
It's kind of like watching Danny on the under 24 team. It's like I felt like you're just catching routine continues.
Yeah.
It's like jab step from the front of the stack, get an easy break side goal.
Yeah, it was super easy, which is awesome, but it would have been nice to, like, I don't know, just like do some sick shit. Yeah.
To work.
And I don't know, that was, I think one of the, I think BVH said it. One of the coaches said, like, hey, if you're feeling like you haven't had that much of an impact or you're not really doing much, that's a good thing, because we're just absolutely destroying. Like, there's not much else to be done.
Yeah.
And I think the style of offense that we kind of settled on by the final and most of the weekend, honestly, it was kind of dominator focused. Touches were mostly Johnny, Rowan, Mac, which isn't a bad thing. Like, we want the disc in their hands, but I think like we worked really hard for a lot of stuff when we could just connect cutter to cutter way, way better, in my opinion. So I think we're still iterating on how we want to run as an offense, and hoping we can get like more cutter to cutter connections, because it seems so crazy that the touches are skewed to them. They're great players, but like it seems crazy when you have like me, Yacht, Kocher, and Boxley sitting there waiting to touch the disc. Like, I feel like everybody should touch the disc once at a point, and then we should score for free, basically. That's not like actually going to happen, but that's kind of how it like feels it should happen.
Yeah. I mean, I know exactly what you mean, because all the stuff that I've been writing down lately it's like both phases, like the backfield phase and the cutter phase, and like when to transition between the two of them.
Yeah.
And a lot of our focus is backfield driven, partly because we only have so many skill players offensively, like at that level. So we need to make sure that they're dictating what happens on the field. And but like as part of that, like one of the bullet points that we don't really underscore quite enough is like, if you can connect, if I can connect to Quinn or Kinn's downfield, Quinn's, like I should do that and then just hang back. And you know what's funny that makes me think of, and I want to ask you more about Windmill, but I played Solstice this weekend in the Colorado Solstice with the Grandmasters team, but we were playing the Open Division. We lost in quarters to Smokestack. We beat them in semis last year, but that's all right. We played the YCC team, the U20 team. Also, shout out Cutthroat, because you guys did kick ass. I ended up having to come back 14-12 to beat them.
Whoa.
Because it got windy. So thankfully we could set a little more junk. But anyway, this is a really long way. I'll give them a little bit better shout out in a second, but a long-winded way of saying I started cramping and Ezra was guarding me. Ezra's their best player, in my opinion. And so I just stayed like completely on the other side of the field and tried to stay negative of the disc, and he just stayed pinned to me. And afterwards, after the game, I joked like, dude, like I was cramping the whole time. You should have kind of locked up someone else. I was just trying to keep you out of the way.
That's funny.
But it makes me think of like doing the same thing. If I was playing with you guys, I would want to just get it downfield to you guys, and then we give you as much space to work.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it feels like there is a time and place to run the offense how we ran it, but the majority of the time it should just be like, oh, pull play, I catch an under, I throw a break, or I throw a huck, we throw another break, we swing it, we score to the other person. Like it doesn't feel like we need to be forcing the dominator down the field with the amount of talent we have on the field, in my opinion.
Yeah, like you could just move it.
Yeah, we can move it freely.
Like
we can move it freely in the dominator set, obviously, but we could move it freely.
Yeah.
We could move it more freely, cutter to cutter, handler to cutter, cutter to cutter, back to handler to cutter. Like it just feels forced.
Your yards per completion could be
way
17 yards instead of 5.5 yards.
Yeah.
It's funny because during the San Diego game, like we had Zeke in the backfield a lot and we were like flowing, doing pretty well as an offense. And he was like, Kitten's like, put me downfield, dude. Like I want to get downfield and like do something. And I was like, because like it's not working, like what we're doing, or just because you're like bored in the backfield?
I'll tell you what, it was more boring downfield because they're just like bracketing and switching and giving you unders. So it's like,
yeah.
In hindsight, I think I should have been in that dominator more. I'm glad I wasn't, just because I, not 100% yet. So, but in hindsight, it definitely should have been me in there, I think, more. But
yeah,
what are you gonna do?
Yeah, we'll work that in a little bit for sure. Yeah, I'm excited.
Wait, were you talking about with San Diego or with?
Oh,
with San Diego.
Not with USA. Yeah. No, I don't need to be in there. No.
I know. I thought you were talking about USA. Yeah, with San Diego for sure. Especially if we're gonna start like more dom and that kind of stuff, and even though it doesn't matter.
What were some of the highlights of Windmill?
Yeah, it was really cool. I was kind of dreading, not it, but just like the travel of it, because it's a lot for. I was there for like 4 whole days, and I feel like I still haven't recovered fully from the jet lag and the whatever else.
You were only there for 4 days.
Dude,
like
I flew out Wednesday night, landed Thursday afternoon, and then I left Monday morning.
Wow. Did anybody stay extra?
I think a couple people did. I think Trent stayed for a couple extra days. Rowan might have. I think a couple people did, but some people got there early too. But yeah, it was really cool. I would shout out everybody that said hi to me and mentioned the podcast. There's a lot of you. Special shout out for IHACKER, our guy.
Oh yeah, buddy.
Yeah.
Our guy. But yeah, I think I had like between 5 and 10 people come up to me and say, "Hey, I like the podcast. Big fan." So that was super cool.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah, I definitely get imposter syndrome about that stuff. I'm like, why do you like me? I'm stupid. But yeah, it was awesome getting to kind of bond with everybody. I think like being in for what it said, like for traveling that much for a short tournament, probably not worth it for like the playing, of course. But the bonding with the team was much like it was on a higher level than it would have been in the US, I think, because we all experienced this like shit ass travel. Yeah. And now we're all in like a different country. So it took that bonding aspect to the next level. And I think that's the majority of what we were going for with that tournament anyway.
Yeah.
And I think we did get tested on the field a little bit with Clapham and Team Canada even. But yeah, I mean, just bonding with everybody's definitely the highlight. And playing offense with that line is, I mean, that's always pretty sweet. So, yeah, it was awesome.
Did you guys play Mooncatchers?
We did play Mooncatchers. I wasn't playing because the first time I'd played in like a month since I came off my hamstring was Friday of the tournament, and we played 4 games that day, and I only played the first 2, and then the next 2 were against Clapham and Mooncatchers, so I missed probably the 2 most fun games.
Well, shout out also Pierre, Coach Pierre. He wanted to say hi to you. He said he didn't end up getting a chance to.
He didn't.
What did he say? He said that said, we had fun with USA. We lost on the field, but we won the jug contest. I don't know what that means.
I don't either. They play. every time they would do something, every time they scored, it was like in like a sick, crazy way. They scored like, I think it was like 15-10, and every single goal they had was like cool. Like it was crazy. They did something crazy. And
That's
every
why they're
time,
so fun to watch.
yeah, every time they scored, me and Rafi would just look at each other and be like, man, we should play for moon catchers. Like we should play for moon catchers.
I feel like Rafi's the perfect fit for that team.
Rafi's the best moon catchers player ever, and he's never played for him. Rafi had this catch. I don't know if it's on film somewhere, but it got tipped in the end zone, and he underhand swiped it while doing a 360. It caught it for a goal. Like the guy it was hilarious. I'll see if I can find it, but it's the funniest thing ever.
That's crazy.
It was
so
stupid.
you did not camp.
I didn't camp. The whole team camped. This is funny. People can call me out as much as they want. I didn't camp. The whole team camped except me and Saul Yannick. We got a hotel room because I can camp for one night, and that's about it. I can't do it for multiple nights.
He's a Colorado native, but hates the outdoors.
That is hella lame,
It's fine.
Quinn.
It's fine.
Oh my god!
But everybody, Antoine Davis, after the first night or after the second night, he's like, "Can I come sleep in your hotel room on the floor?" So we had Twan on the floor too.
That doesn't surprise me,
dude.
I don't know Twan, but just looking at him, he looks so glamorous. Can't imagine him sleeping in a tent.
He's very glamorous. He's a model too. So, but it rained the entire time. It rained the entire fucking time.
Oh, really?
The campsite was mud. It was just mud.
Right.
And I saw Jimmy a couple of times, Jimmy Mickle, and he's like, I was like, I'm just going back to my hotel room. And he's like, what I would give to not be camping right now. And I was just like,
with the super team.
That is so funny.
It's really funny. I think everybody's glad they camped, but everybody didn't want to be camping.
I would not want to either.
No, but everybody didn't want to be while they were doing it, but I think they're glad they did it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Well,
no, I don't either.
What do you think, Kins? Would you have camped if you went to Windmill?
I mean, I would have, but it sounds not super enjoyable.
Kins, are you much of an outdoorsman? Do you camp?
I don't now, but like I grew up doing
so did I.
Because my dad was.
I grew up doing it all the time. Like I don't do it now.
Because like Frisbee, when do I go? I do Frisbee every weekend. There's no time. What's definitely an issue.
On the note of camping and rain, shout out Stan's Bus Rave. It's not just Stan's Bus Rave, but Stan's my main connection to the bus rave. They just had it this past week, and it also stormed pretty badly, is what I heard. But it was a success. Any other highlights? What was it like sharing a room with Saul?
What were the first impressions too?
The team.
Just like the teammates.
That's a good one.
Saul's a funny guy. I love Saul though. He's very.
He looked good on the field, by the way. I thought
Saul
I was impressed. Yeah,
Saul's a very.
He looked kind of back to what I thought he was in 2021.
Dude, whenever I like get to guard him, which is pretty rare, I'm like, I'm gonna lock this fucking guy up because like he's not like self-proclaimed, not an athlete.
You don't
he's not
think
that athletic,
right?
He is so fucking hard to guard, so hard to guard. Like nobody can guard him in the handler set, and it's not because he's quicker. It's not because he's faster. It's not because he's more athletic than the dude. He's just so
super smart,
slippery, and so smart. He's incredibly impressive in the handler set. He's very, very good.
Release points.
And he's like the biggest nerd ever. And he
not just Frisbee nerd.
Not just like he's the biggest Frisbee nerd ever. And he's also a regular nerd because he's in med school doing all that shit. He's incredibly smart. But sharing like Saul, I don't know. It's something that just like calms him down, I think. But I even told him this, but every once in a while you'll just hear him go like he'll just take like 3 insanely deep breaths. I don't know why he does it, but it's just like
he's probably just thinking about
something he does. But no, I love sharing room with Saul.
I pulled 2 clips of him to share in our O channel actually.
Yeah. I got to spend some time with Antoine Davis too, who I've don't know at all, and I really enjoyed spending time with him. And he's like, I feel like people are always like on him about his like social media presence, which like whatever. he's very down to earth in person. I really enjoyed getting to know him. And Kocher and Rowan, I really feel like I bonded with Kocher and Rowan quite a bit, and the whole O-line and honestly everybody in general. We did this I feel like I just like bonded with everybody very, very well. It was super, super nice.
That's good.
Yeah. And
that's what you want out of a trip like that for sure.
Yeah. Everybody's coming to town July 4th. So we'll get that going too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Do you happen to have a Quinn bomb about Rowan?
Playing dig. Yeah.
Who told us that? It was someone else that wasn't you.
Calvin told me the other day. I was really surprised.
Yeah. He's playing dig, man. Dig is gonna be.
Jeremy told me that's who it was.
Yeah. He said he was gonna do it a while ago.
If you can't beat him, join him.
That's good.
Rowan also played in his 100th UFA game yesterday. So congrats, Rowan.
A few behind Jay, huh?
I don't think so.
Isn't he a few games behind Jay? Jay had his 100th earlier this season.
Okay, I'm not gonna out.
I know he miscounted, but
it was like his 97th game or something.
Okay. All right, so they're neck and neck.
Yeah, they might actually be the
That's
same.
Funny.
But yeah, Rowan threw me if the film ever comes out, he threw me the most. We were playing Team Canada in quarters. Threw me the most insane OEO you've ever seen. I didn't catch it, but like super windy, huge shimmy, and just throws like the most insane like vertical blade,
just
at like 90 miles an hour to an inside lane while I'm slashing across. And I didn't catch it. Like I got like the back side of it, couldn't catch it. After the point, he goes to me, sorry. He's like, sorry, I hooked that one. I'm like, yeah, no shit, man. Like it was funny, but I really like playing with Rowan, and me and Rowan have like I think a bond as well, which is nice. But yeah.
Does it feel very easy playing with the offense? Like what were your thoughts on just like playing with everyone? Like,
yeah, I mean, it feels really easy. Like the hardest thing to do on that offense is clear space. 'Cause that's like your main priority on this being on an O-line like that. Like usually the way I play, it's like my first priority is get to disc. On this offense is like my first priority is to clear space, and that's how everybody else is thinking too, right? Like so having that be your first priority is a big adjustment. So it's just like I'm gonna clear, and then maybe after I clear, I'll be in the right spot to go get the disc. But yeah, I feel like we didn't really get challenged that much. I think even in the game that was close, I think the O-line turned it 3 times. Like,
wow.
Well, it's like even if they have a good, like, I mean, just like how many good matchup defenders can you have? You know, like every one of those person deserves like the team's top defender. Yeah. And like, you know, even if it's like,
it's funny. Like
it's just ridiculous.
We rolled out like I think the O-line, like with Durs or with Yacht, like I think it's different. Like I think if we roll it out with Durs, it's like a little bit different because now it's just like everybody on the line is like under 6 feet, and they're all just like crazy hybrids. It's like me, Kocher, Box, Durs, Trent downfield. It's like, well, what do you do? Like you can't put big dudes on any of us because we're just gonna work it.
No,
you don't have 7 dudes that can guard all those people. And then if you put Yacht on there too, it's like, well, you have a big dude to go on Yacht, but it's Yacht, so like you don't really.
Yeah, I mean, I would really like. I feel like then you would just really be trying. Like, I would like be like, "Fuck it, just huck it," and hopefully, like that'd be your best shot. You know what I mean? Like, because you're probably you still hit them, but like,
if you can get
that's like your best chance of getting. That's like your best shot of getting turnovers, and at least it's not like to the like biggest people. At least that's what I would think if I was like an opposing coach. Be like, to really fight, like just make them fucking huck it.
I'm hoping we open it up more in terms of hucking. But we'll see if we do. I don't know.
It's tough because it's like it's also like what we've been talking about, like with those kind of lines, like like hucking it is valuable, but also
We don't need
just
it.
like you can
It's worth the
you
same
don't
amount of
need
points.
to do it because it's worth the same amount of points, and when you move it side to side, you generate the same offense, and just like
Yeah. And it's interesting to like think about it
yeah.
too. It's like the construction of the line should change. If we're not going to huck the disc, like Yacht shouldn't be on the line, not because he's not an incredible player, but because the D lines will huck it, and he should be on a D line if we're going to huck it.
You did throw.
But the threat is
You
still
did throw
so
two
legit.
hucks
Like,
when
even
you.
if you're,
Well, you didn't
We did.
throw them. Johnny threw 2 hucks to him, right?
Yeah. So
One of them Ben had to make a decent play,
Yeah.
and the other one was actually D'd.
yeah.
And then he caught it, the game winner.
Yeah. That was that. I think he threw that one to box though.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
he did.
Yeah. No, I think he should be on the line. I think we should huck it. If that's my.
yeah. And I mean, there's a lot of hucks that are very, depending on conditions and stuff, that are like super easy and that kind of stuff. I guess it's really like contextual, but obviously like there's a lot of like open side or whatever, not inflow kind of throws that are probably being hit at with that kind of talented throwers, like that are being completed at the same percentage as like a break mark.
Exactly.
Like some of the break marks that like the Oyo. Cause like at that point, then, if you're throwing that Oyo that Rowan is throwing, then you can put in some. Like,
it is crazy how high a clip he converts those crazy throws.
It's unreal. I mean, it's a completely different style.
I love it. I mean,
like,
it's so fun to watch.
Yeah. I was.
Yeah. No, that
I was just gonna talk about Johnny Monks for a second too, because I always knew Johnny was good. I always knew Johnny Monks was good.
Yeah.
I did not know how good he was until Windmill.
Mm-hmm.
Like with the disc or without the disc?
Both. Dude, he might be one of the best just like handlers in the game.
Oh, for sure. I mean,
like
he's on Team USA.
Dude, if not the best. Well, I know, but like he might be the best. Like he might be the best.
Like what is he so?
Can break any mark however he wants.
I think the only thing that he could use like a slight leveling up on with the disc is his range, but it's still pretty darn good.
Yeah, I think his hucking is probably his weakest part of his game, but it's not bad.
It's not
like
bad.
Yeah, if he's like a 99 and all the other stats, it's like he's like a 95 in hucking or something. Like it's still very good.
Yeah.
Like when he has the disc,
Sure.
he can break any mark. He's so calm and so poised with the disc. Like when he has it, everybody's just like, okay, we're good. We're good.
Yeah.
Like this guy can do anything with it.
That's pretty clear too.
And he always makes the right choice with it. He doesn't hold it for too long. He knows when to throw and go. And he is sneaky athletic, man. He really is sneaky athletic.
Mhm.
I think people...
He's decent size too. What is he, 6'1"?
Yeah, he's like my height, maybe a little taller than me. So, yeah. Johnny, I don't know if he listens, but...
It seems like he's moving well.
He's,
what do you think, like after playing with them, like for me and stuff with the disc, like with breaking the mark and stuff, like what do you think they're doing that's well? Like how could I...
Improve.
You know what I mean? Like I want to have like those.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
I think you are one of the best in the game at breaking the mark around, but you don't throw that many insides.
Yeah, no,
and
totally.
I think if you translated your around throwing to inside throwing, it would make the difference it would make would be astronomical, I think, because the way that insides fly compared to rounds, it's going to cut up field more. It's going to be completed quicker. It is going to. It's going to be the next throws. It unlocks the defense. And around, generally arounds are just like they can unlock the defense for sure, but they're generally just getting the disc to the break side and resetting the stall. Whereas like insides can kill defenses.
Because
that's what I think the truck guys do really well. Is they can throw the around if we need to, but man, they hit insides. They always hit insides. They're always zippy. They're always
like A-Roy's around is still very, very good. But man, they got them both. They got them both.
And you can
3 or 4 of them.
You could catch insides if you're receiving an inside. You catch it generally like facing the sideline, so you can turn up field really quick. Catching it around, you're usually running back towards the thrower, so you have to flip all the way around.
Yeah, it does depend on a lot of other things. Like if it's a more lateral cut, you could lead in around.
You know, and I think one thing I've been thinking, because I'm glad you said that, because I've actually been focusing on that currently, like as one of my focuses with throwing more insides. And one of the realizations I've been having with it is it's not only the thrower, but it takes a certain chemistry with the cutters, because there's another level of anticipation that is required. Like the insides have to come off so much earlier. So I have to like really know that this person is making that cut, you know, because then I can throw it as soon as they start to go to the break side. Where the around, a couple seconds later into the cut, you can throw that around still and they can come get it. Whereas like one of the things I've been noticing when trying to throw more insides is like, I need to know that this person is like, I'm looking at you and you're going to cut this way because I'm going to throw this like super early out to the space. And so I've been thinking about the anticipation required to throw like these good insides.
When I play, I'm kind of giving away like, and this doesn't matter.
Time check for Kids here. Quick.
Yeah. I'll hear Quinn's final thought. And then
so when I'm playing, I almost use rounds as like a bailout. Like it's always my second look. I'm always trying to throw the inside, and if I can throw it, I'm throwing it. And then the around is like, okay, I didn't get my inside off. That's fine. I can throw the around. I'm never looking to like, I'm gonna hit this with an around. I'm always like, I'm going to hit this with an inside. If it doesn't happen, I look it off or I throw like a later round as like a bailout.
I'm going to watch some truck footage before practice tomorrow and really get it clicking.
We'll have to continue this conversation too, because I have a lot on this topic.
This could go on forever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fuck. Go
all right.
Get out of here.
This is like, I'm getting like blue balled right now. All right. I'm leaving.
But yeah, I gave some specific shout outs to my teammates, but I wish I could shout everybody out one by one. But
yeah, I know that feeling too.
Yeah, I could shout everybody out. And just know if I didn't,
man. Yeah. It was fun to watch. The style of play too. I was impressed with. I thought it was well balanced.
Yeah.
You know, aside from what we've talked about and what you mentioned on some of the O-line stuff, but it's not a bad thing. It's just it's just a holy crap, like you're spoiled with riches and just pick your poison, really.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, all that to be said, like I said, if you didn't get a specific shout out, it's not because you're not amazing. It's just because we could go down the roster, but we're not going to do that.
You're all fucking good and you know it.
Yeah.
It's all right.
Seriously.
You're on Team USA. You're doing okay.
I will say the D-lines, watching both the D-lines like start to find their rhythm and their style was crazy from like the start of the weekend till finals. Like the upward trajectory was like so fast. So fast. Like I think we definitely struggled to move the ball a little bit on D in the first 2 days of the tournament. And then by finals, it was like
they figured it out.
By finals, it was like if you turn it, you're not fucking getting this back.
Like
you're not getting it back.
Eli's hammer, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Definitely didn't need that one.
It was a downpour. It was sloppy. It was windy.
Seriously though, watching Saul operate was super impressive. And while you were talking about Johnny, the only other person that was coming to mind was like, Saul is close, in my opinion. He's maybe not quite as big.
He is. Yeah, he just has a different role, so it's harder to, at least from my point of view. Like, I played with Johnny, and Johnny plays O, so that's kind of just like my shtick. But yeah, Saul's definitely.
And he's also proven that he can be the center handler on a national championship O-line.
He could definitely do it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, in watching it's there was one point in the final where it was Durs at the front of the stack and Gooch and Saul in the backfield, and we're all just yelling from the sideline, just ring, and they scored, of course. Like Durs caught it, and it's just magic to watch, honestly.
Yeah, it's fun.
And Gooch compliments, like Gooch complements whoever he's playing with so well.
He's like the ultimate secondary reset.
Ultimate, the best in the world at being a secondary reset.
There's no question.
No question. Like no question. Whoever he's playing with complements them 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when he's playing with Saul, it's that much better.
Yeah.
At training camp, watching Saul and Gooch and Nut all guard each other is the fucking funniest thing you've ever seen, because they're all just doing the same thing. Just so, like, it's so funny.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
Yeah. And then Eli, his backhand, he might have one of the best backhand hucks.
Yeah.
Currently, his backhand is crazy, dude.
He's, I always knew he was good, but I kind of thought he was having a downturn towards his playing days. He looked good. I thought he looked really good.
I was very impressed with him. He was very good.
And also when we played Oakland, I thought he looked really good.
He had a pull. He all his pulls were good, but he had this one pull that I swear the hang time, it was like in the ends, like hovering in the end zone for longer than I've ever seen a disc hover in the air for. It flipped 4 separate times on the way down. It was fucking insane. I don't know how he did it. He's
a good thrower.
He's a really fucking good thrower. He throws his flick funny though.
It kind of gets like a
big
wind up.
Yeah, he puts his whole body into that fucking thing, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, man, crazy.
All right, well, shout out Team USA. Also shout out Colorado Cutthroat. Cosmic too, but Cutthroat, since I played you guys this past weekend, and it was good to get to know you guys. All right, should we take a quick break?
Yeah, take a 5.
All right,
cool.
We will be back. Welcome to 3-time national champions back to back, Allison Reilly and Emily. Oh shoot, is it?
It's 4, right?
It's 4.
Is it 4?
Yeah,
it's 4.
Holy
dude.
Smokes, dude! I knew that, and it's just like such an absurd number that like, how could I count that high? And though Emily, is it Kooski?
Yeah, that's right.
I'm gonna do my best. I think Kooski is what you go by normally
in Frisbee. Yeah,
in the Frisbee world. Okay. Well, thanks so much for being here on relatively short notice, maybe not too short notice, and congratulations on the 4-peat. How's it going?
It's going well. It's sad to leave nationals. Like the nationals come down always hits really hard of like the super heightened emotions when you're at the tournament, and then you take one flight and you're all alone in your house, or everybody's gone and doing their summer things, and it just kind of feels sad.
Yeah, even after you win, you like go back to work and you're like,
yes,
none of these people give a shit that I just won this thing that we dedicate our entire lives to. But all these people that like you're around are just like, yeah, I don't even know what the fuck that is. Like,
it's really bizarre.
Yeah, definitely.
So before we start quizzing you on all things Pleiades, how about a little intro of both of you? Alli, maybe I'll start with you. Could you just give us a little background on your history with Frisbee, but also your history with Pleiades and how long you've been playing?
Yeah, I mean, those things are kind of one and the same. I had no idea what Ultimate was before I got to college. Kooski and I are in the same boat in that way. I grew up outside of Boston, played soccer and basketball through high school, and then started college in 2020, height of COVID, and thought I was going to play club basketball, but that wasn't happening because it's an indoor sport. And then just stumbled upon a learn to play event for Pleiades and I fell in love with it so fast. So I guess this is now my 3rd full year of playing Ultimate. Outside of Pleiades, I played Wingdings. We were just chatting about that fun little combined Darkside Pleiades mixed team in 2022. Spent the last year abroad and played some Ultimate around the world, and then just made Phoenix this year. So that's my
nice. Congrats.
Yeah, thanks.
That's awesome.
Kooski, how about you? What's your background?
Similar story. I'm a year older than Alli, so I came to college in 2019, right before COVID. So I had my freshman fall where I was a true rookie. Again, I had no idea that Frisbee was a thing. I saw a sign on campus and it said learn to play ultimate frisbee, and I didn't realize it was a team. It was like, yeah, sure, I'll learn to play. Like, I don't have anything better to do. And then as soon as I got there, was like, I need this to be a huge part of my life. It was so fun. It looked so cool, and like Dawn was there doing crazy things, and I was like, this girl's crazy. And so yeah, I was in Chapel Hill for COVID. Couldn't play any frisbee really besides threes, and then continued to play Pleiades all throughout. Played on Wingdings in 2022. Made Phoenix for the first time last year. So nice. I'm finishing my 5th full year of playing frisbee this year.
Holy smokes. Honestly, I was not expecting you guys to be so fresh to the sport. I know that was really common. Honestly, maybe even when Quinn was in college, but certainly when I was in college. But nowadays, I think of the top programs, like I just imagined everybody to have had youth experience. So it kind of blows my mind that you guys are that both of you are so fresh to the sport.
So fresh.
Yeah. Very fresh. But I mean, like, I think it's such a cool thing about the ultimate program at UNC, and especially like shout out Jessi Jones, our head coach, like the number of world's level talents that she has developed from like zero frisbee experience arriving at UNC to who they are now. It's like actually remarkable. So I'm just grateful to be one of the many who's been able to benefit from that.
From Jessi. Nice.
Yeah. I want to pile onto that. I just like really need to hammer this one home. Like Jessi's coaching roster, even if you took out all the people that she kind of like inherited, like Dawn's and Teresa's and Alli Young's, even if you took all those people out, the number of people that she's turned from true rookies never having played before to like really dominant club players is insane. Like no other coach, men's division, women's division, no other coach has a roster like that of people that they have crafted from nothing into like really good players. And that like she is the success of the program, and her doing that is the success of the program.
It shows like y'all are probably the best college team program ever. Like four Pete is absolutely insane. And it's a good segue in terms of just like developing players. What does Pleiades do so well that helps players like yourselves and even people like Dawn who, you know, have maybe been playing longer, but like reach that upper echelon? Like, what do you think the program and your coach do so well that helps kind of develop those skills and that winning culture?
You got Alli.
Okay. My like very first answer is that it's just really fun.
Yeah.
And we love each other a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And coming from a background in other sports, I think I arrived at Pleiades and very instantly felt the culture that I had been really looking for in those other sports in a way that was like so tangible, even though I had no idea what was going on, like could not complete a pass from here to there, like couldn't even visualize what happens in an ultimate game. I was like, I can feel how much these people care about the sport, care about each other, care about getting better for the sake of their teammates, are putting in time outside of practice to lift and to watch film and to throw with people who have never touched a disc before. Like the joy in all of that was so tangible. And then, I don't know, it just creates this like perfect cycle of it's fun. So you work hard and then you're good. And then it's fun to be good. And then it just goes round and round.
Ditto.
Yeah.
This is like kind of that what you just described is kind of the premise of our podcast. Like we just try to talk about it all the time, and we try to do this on our teams. And it is just such a difficult thing to make a reality, even when it is your main focus. So, you know, I guess that's just another, feather in the cap of the program.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that answer was just like perfect. Like really speaks to me too, when you say like you're, you know, played a different sport. And then when you found Frisbee, it was like the culture was just exactly what you were looking for. It really spoke to me because I grew up playing hockey, and it's like the most like fucked up, toxic, masculine environment ever. And it's so awful. Like it's so bad. And when you're in it, like and you're young and like you're in high school, even, you don't really realize it. But like looking back on it, it was just like, it's so bad. And then once you find Frisbee and like just the environment is just so incredible. Like even when I was playing hockey, like my parents wouldn't sit with the other, like they didn't want to sit with the other parents just because like the environment, it was just so crazy to be a part of that. And looking back on that, being a part of that and now being a part of like Frisbee culture is just so amazing. So listen to you say that is pretty awesome too.
Yeah. And I think like that's part of where Pleiades kind of gets a lot of its players is you see people who grew up playing a sport through high school at like a pretty competitive level and have just reached some burnout and frustration, and like kind of it's hard to plateau and feel like you're putting in a lot of work and not seeing results, and your coaches don't value you in the way you deserve to be valued. And then like to step into an environment where it's okay to just be really bad again. Like I hadn't experienced that since I was probably in preschool or kindergarten.
Yeah.
To just like, you know, I could just go out there and whatever happened. And to see the like instant returns on the effort that you're putting in, I think that's where we get a lot of those people who have come from other sports and are just looking for something a little more refreshing.
Emily, what are your thoughts on that? Did you also say you played different sports?
Yeah, I grew up playing, like by high school, my primary sport was tennis, but I kind of did a little bit of everything growing up, just like normal middle class, like sports upbringing where you just kind of do everything. And I wholeheartedly agree with everything Alli said. I feel like a lot of people like to like speculate or whatever about what UNC Pleiades team culture is like. And it just like, I wish there was a less wholesome answer, but it just like is so good to be on this team. I'm confident that it's the most fun team to be on. It's the best team culture in the country. And like that just fosters good players. We have, I think another thing that really helps is that the players at the top of the roster care so much about developing the younger players. Like I really think in addition to our coach knowing how to fit the puzzle pieces together every year, the players that are more experienced very genuinely and very deeply care about the success of the less experienced players. And to have older people believe in you like that is kind of invaluable. And it isn't something that always happens when you have like in what other realm are we having a crazy gap where you have people that have never played the sport before playing with people that are world class, like Dawn. Like that is such a weird dynamic to have on a team. It's so bizarre. And yet it just like works so like everybody just cares about each other, and everybody's celebrating everybody else's wins, whether it's Dawn catching like an insane goal on Universe to win semis.
Sad for me, but
sorry. Or if it's like someone completing like an open side flick and everybody goes nuts. Like it's just good. Yeah. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It's really actually interesting to hear that you have such awareness of this, you know, because I think I'm old, I'm 40. I think of people your age as like really not having put a lot of thought into this. And, and especially since you really, at least in the Frisbee world, haven't experienced what other teams are like. I'm a little bit, but just not extensively in your still young careers.
Mm-hmm. Very young.
Yeah. So, but to have that perspective is pretty cool to hear. And I don't know. It's just cool.
I feel like I spent a lot of time this year trying to think about what exactly, like if you could really break down what good team culture is on a super molecular level, like tiny scale, one sentence, how would you describe team culture? And I think maybe it's different for other people. I think for me, it's just when everyone on the roster is rooting for everyone else on the roster. If everybody's rooting for everybody else, it's good team culture.
That's good. Yeah, we'll definitely clip that one. That's a good one.
Oh, thank you.
You're talking about that catch that Dawn made in the semi. I kind of want to hear just about that semifinal in general. Like the weather was bad. It was so up and down. I think y'all were down 14-10, 14-11,
13-9 was the scoreline.
13. Okay, yeah. To come back from that is one thing. It's insane. I just kind of want to hear both of y'all's thoughts on the game, what it was like, what what it was like at 13-9, like in a huddle at 13-9.
My palms sweat when I think about this game. I don't like talking about it.
So I'd love to hear y'all's, just your insight on it, what it was like and everything like that.
Alli, you want to go first?
My heart, like I know, feeling my heart.
It nauseates me to think about that game.
Oh man.
In a good way, or what is that?
Obviously in a good way, but it was just like, I wish that I could say that I'm one of those people that's like, it's 13-9. We've gotten broken, I don't know, like 3 times in a row. And I'm like, yeah, we got this. Like, I'm just like, I'm a little bit of a realist. Like I was like, oh no, our season's about to end. Say what you will about that mentality. I don't know. It wasn't like I wasn't giving up, but I was looking at the scoreboard and looking at the time that was left, and I was like, I don't want it to end like this. Like, it's just making me sad. Gosh, it just stresses me out. Like when I'll go back and watch the game, and obviously I know what happens, and I'm still like freaking out watching that game.
I've rewatched the game. I was with Mama Bird. We were warming up through most of maybe the first part of the comeback. I think like I was having to tell our players like, hey, we got to focus on warming up. But like I was myself kind of sneaking over to watch because we were on the upper field, so I could like look down over your game. And I remember in the moment it feeling like an eternity. Like I just could not believe how long each point felt. But then I rewatched the game. I was like, holy cow, that actually not a ton of time passed, and all of a sudden you won. I don't know how it feels for both of you though.
There was that one point, I think
that was really long.
I think at 9:13, I want to say.
Yeah. Yes.
That actually was really, really long. Like an absurd number of turnovers. I don't even want to say
it was not pretty ultimate. It was not good from either team. It was bad ultimate.
I was like, this is.
And part of me is still kind of tilted that we even let it get to that point. Like, it was good for the plot and it was good for the narrative, but I'm like irritated at us that we let it get there. Yeah. Like, why did that happen? That shouldn't have happened.
I understand that. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, Quandary played a great game for sure. But like, if you'd asked me at the beginning of the tournament, like who was going to give us our hardest game, they were not on that list really. Like, lots of respect for them, of course, but I was scared of Vermont. I was scared of UBC. Like, So I think similar to Kooski at 9:13, I was like, are we about to finish our season?
Quandary?
Come on.
Like maybe in 2022, sure, but now, like, oh wow.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, something like specifically I remember Kooski and I both handle on the O-line primarily, and I think Colorado did a really good job of like poaching in lanes and fronting us, especially when we were working upwind in a way that just like really disconnected our offense. I remember feeling like our like cutter continuation timing was just like a little bit thrown off by that, and was just like, forcing us to go to second and third options in a way that was uncomfortable. But I don't know. In the end, I think it just came down to like
kind of
a lot of grit. Yeah, jinx, and a little bit of luck for sure. A little bit of luck. I think it like having that close of a call made me realize like just like I think reinstilled how crazy it is that we've done this 4 times in a row, because it takes like so little for it to just not
it's crazy. Yeah, we often talk about how thin the margins are.
I also don't want I feel like people maybe think that obviously during our win streak it appeared that it was easy for us to win, when like really the 2021 fall nationals roster was insane. That is its own thing, but like at no point was it ever just really easy for us to win. Like every year is a new set of tools, a new set of puzzle pieces that have to be rearranged, and every year you lose talent and have to develop new talent. So like I just was really impressed with how the puzzle pieces got fit together and how many people stepped up to bat the whole season, and also in that Colorado game. Like our whole roster stepped up to bat in their own ways this entire season. And it was fun to watch.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think too, like from the out, it's definitely I know it's definitely not easy, but I think definitely people like look at it and think it's easy. But another thing that kind of gets overlooked about like being the favorite is the expectation of being the favorite. And every team that you play is like, they have nothing to lose. They're playing like they have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
But like you have everything to lose. So it's that expectation and that pressure.
And nobody was rooting for you.
And no one's rooting for you either. Yeah. So all of those things make it that much more difficult and that much more impressive. So like just considering all of like that and the mentality it takes is incredibly impressive. And maybe this is a hot take. I don't know if it is. It probably is. I think rooting for the underdog is like something that a lot of people do. Like I find myself rooting for
dynasties,
the favorite in the dynasties, like using like a football analogy, like, cause it's easy, but like, I don't like Tom Brady, but I rooted for him for a long time because I think it's just insane what he does. And I think that's kind of like, I don't want to compare y'all to Tom Brady, but like that type of situation.
Tom Brady.
Yeah. I mean,
I also like to think of it as, I like seeing greatness, and I think it's pretty rare. Like the culmination of everything. And I think as a not only a sports fan, but someone who's trying to replicate a lot of those things, I want to learn from it. And when you see it happen and you see the results, it's sort of validation that, okay, if we follow, like, these people are laying it out on, like, it's clear what people, if you really want to win, they are setting the example.
The parity in the division also, especially this year, I feel like proves that the women's division has grown. Like it's just shown a lot of growth.
Oh yeah.
Like this nationals as a spectator, I feel like was so fun to watch.
How would you compare this championship versus the other ones that you've been a part of?
You can go, Alli.
This is a question I feel like gets tossed our way every now and then, and they're all so different. Like it's weird to, pick a favorite because each one has like such a unique value, both because the roster is always changing, but then also like our roles within it are so different. Like the first championship we won was my first semester of playing Frisbee. I was a D-line cutter who didn't know how to throw. I like got on. There's
part of me that's really upset at you right now.
Yeah, I'm so mad. Yeah.
And then like the next year was the first time I got moved to O-line, and like to be trusted to be out there at all was like, wow, this is cool. And then I captained Pleiades last year, and like the feeling of just like I helped make this happen on a team-wide scale, and people trusted me to lead them in those moments. Like that had a different feel. And then this year doing it with a team that looked really different and had people stepping up into brand new roles and that lost our first games and had that comeback. Like this was by far the hardest year. And I knew that going in, and this satisfaction of achieving that still, each one just, there's something different about each one, and something unique and special about each one. And I know I probably sound so privileged saying everything I just said.
We are unfortunately not relatable. Sure. Yeah. My favorite was this most recent one. It had to be.
For similar reasons. And the comeback.
Yeah, just like in 2021, that was my first it wasn't my first season playing Ultimate, but it was my first like actual season where we had a series.
Yeah.
So like I wasn't doing much, and then similarly in 2022, I wasn't doing much. So just to like really feel like I contributed to the win this year, it felt so good. Like to see my own hard work pay off in that way made me feel so fulfilled.
We sort of tangent here. We've been jokingly call ourselves the North Carolina podcast because we've had so many North Carolina people on, and we've had Liam on, and we asked him the same question, and he said it was his last one. I think it was for reasons similar, like where that there were more unknowns, and he was playing a different leadership role on that team. He did not consider them the favorite that year. And honestly, we had a really stacked stacked team.
Didn't he think we were the favorite that year? And then he killed us.
Yeah, I can't remember the 21 fall one or the 22 one. I can't remember
22.
which one he was.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
More, yeah. The 21. Yeah, he really. I mean, he always kills us. So,
yeah. Unfortunately.
But yeah, it makes a lot of sense as you grow more with the team that it would be a little bit more meaningful. Before we kind of ask you about the stuff that you shared, the defensive set that you dug up for us, could you maybe give us as much insight as you're willing to on not just the culture pieces, but like what is it that you guys that the Pleiades does strategically or teaches so well? What is a practice like, and how often do you practice?
We practice 4 nights a week for 2 hours each night, or each practice. I would say something that sets us apart from other teams, aside from team culture, is the coaching staff, which I've harped on a lot, but specifically that our coaches and our leadership are clinically thorough. Like, we know when we play you, we know your whole roster and we know what you're going to do to a T, and we're prepared for it. And I think that when we play other people that haven't scouted us, really, it's very apparent.
Yeah.
So I think thoroughness in preparation from off the field really is a pillar of the success of Pleiades.
Yeah, definitely true. And I think scouting is so fun, so cool. But where my brain went initially when you asked that question, in addition to those 4 practices that we have a week, we just play a whole lot of mini. And that's often mixed mini with dark side and 3v3. My first year on the team, it was basically every Wednesday, Friday, like the 2 days we don't have practice. We were out there playing mini, and I think.
So you're playing 6 days a week, basically?
I can't do that anymore. I wish that I could.
Yeah. My body doesn't anymore. And I think maybe that was, especially common right coming out of COVID, because everyone was just so eager to be playing a whole bunch. But I think with the style that we play, both we'll run a dominator set to start a point. We're in our, 3 people out and set, having that experience, getting a lot of touches in that mini setting. I think if I had to point to a place where I grew the most as a player, it's for sure playing mini. So I think that's so cool, and so cool that we have that relationship with Darkside too. To
totally.
do that a very equitable way. I think that's also really cool.
When you are playing mini, are there any specific focuses, or do you just go out there and get touches and
just grind
reps?
I personally always have an axe to grind, so I come with my axe to threes, and I'm it is very personal at threes, which I think is a great way to actually get better at threes if you take it personally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally. I mean, maybe I shouldn't be surprised since that you are such Frisbee nerds, because you're on a Frisbee podcast right now. But honestly, a lot of people we talk to and a lot of people on the teams that we're involved with are not I'm actually impressed that I should start saying negative things about you, because I feel like I've only been effusive. But
you're impressed that we know ball.
Yeah, I mean, kind of not, and just because so many the guys on our teams, I just feel like when they leave practice, their brains shut off. They're not thinking about Frisbee anymore, and they're not thinking about. They don't have an axe to grind. We talk about joy a lot in our teams, and this has come up in I think a recent episode. Honestly, we talk about Frisbee so much that I forget where and when I talked about certain subjects. And Quinn and I have been talking about how when we talk about joy, it's not necessarily centered properly around the competition piece and the doing hard things well piece, and it's more about it can kind of come off as joy of we get to hang out with our friends and casually toss a Frisbee around, which is in fact the exact opposite of what we're aiming for, because we try to like not do, we follow the focus on process, not outcome. But to a certain, at some point, it is about like, we want to fucking win. And it's clear. I think it's clear that both of you really want to win. And I think that probably makes those reps better.
For sure. Kooski especially. Kooski, I want to fit this in somewhere in the podcast, so I'm going to do it now, is the hardest worker I know. Like,
thank you.
Hands down, like, if you want to know the person who puts the most time in, it's Kooski. Like, the growth that she has had since I've known her and kind of grown up with her on the team is remarkable. And like the way that she brings that out of her teammates too, I think is so special. Like, I have memories of Kooski like kind of playfully trash talking with me, which is, I think, something that, especially on women's division teams, is maybe like a little bit less common, but like to do it in a way that feels like fiery and competitive, but still like joyful and fun, I think is so important. And like Kooski does that really well. And that especially comes out when we're playing mini. So yeah, Kooski, you're awesome. And I think
you guys
just, like,
need to start saying mean things about me. I would rather that.
Is the epitome of UNC Ultimate, I think, is like finding the joy in doing the hard things. Like, I really like that you said that, Mike, because that is the distinction.
Yeah.
Also, joy isn't always like the initial easiest emotion. Like joy can be type 2 joy, where it's like maybe you have a rocky relationship with Frisbee this month because you feel like you're getting beat at practice, you're not enjoying it right now, but like nothing that you love you're going to like love it 100% all the time, which I feel like is a misconception about maybe playing a sport in general, is that it requires no work for you to continue to love it, but it requires like a mental effort to continue to love and to continue to find joy in Frisbee, especially after like the honeymoon phase when you first start to play and it's like, wow, this is so fun, I love it. Is like then you go through like a sophomore slump of like, I wish I was better, how can I get better, and then that it kind of undulates forever in that manner.
I think that's really well said. Okay, I have a couple more questions before we talk about the defensive set. Not quite negative, but obviously you Pleiades cannot win every championship. I'm sure you're aware of that because it seems like you are so well coached. What will it take? Like, as people are leaving, what parts of it do you think will be difficult to sustain? And you talked about how much the older players and experienced players really value in the success of the younger players. Is that something that is kind of unique to maybe a 4 to 5 year time frame and the people that were part of the program, or do you think that's something that can be replicated down the line?
Yeah. Do you have initial thoughts, Alli? I have a couple.
You go.
Yeah. Okay. So my first initial thought is that as long as Jessi is involved in our coaching staff, Pleiades is going to be a deep bracket team in nationals. Like, just off the bat, I would say that. Yeah. Second, I recognize like every year we've cut off the top like 5 off our roster, and every year I'm like kind of biting my nails, like, oh no way we can do it again. And this year feels particularly devastating. We're losing Dawn, we're losing Teresa, and a couple other like staples off the top of our roster, Sarah Combs. And at this very moment, it's like, how could we even begin to rebuild after that? But I know, like, people, the second the Pleiades season ends, people are playing club, like, and not just the people that play, Phoenix. It's like people are playing Shiver, which is another women's team in the area. Like, people want it, every new year again is like people that haven't gotten to play the role that they've wanted to, like, they see it as their shot at that role. People are hungry. It doesn't matter how many times we've won. It's like a clean slate every year. People want it bad, for sure. So I guess we'll see, but I wouldn't count us out for sure.
Yeah. Alli, any thoughts that potentially add to that one?
Yeah. I mean, agree with everything Koos said. I think like something that I always love in the year of Pleiades is like all the kind of recruitment events right at the beginning of the year and just watching people fall in love with it the way that I did not too many years ago. And I think this year especially, like I think where you're losing like 10 people, like a pretty substantial percentage of our roster. So it's going to be like a big recruitment year for us. Like we're looking to take a lot of new people and don't really have any like known recruits coming in with ultimate experience. So it's going to be, again, kind of using that model of find some people with some athletic background and show them that this thing can be really competitive and fun, and bring them in. So I know we can do it because I've seen us do that. I've experienced that myself. So that was one thought. And then I think you asked like, oh, is this kind of culture of the more experienced players valuing the newer people something that is kind of unique to these 5 years? And like to that, I just want to say like, absolutely not. I think I have just been like the latest beneficiary of this program that has been growing for so long. 2 falls ago now, we had an alumni weekend for the first time and had the like co-founder of Pleiades come in and speak. Oh, really? And the way that she spoke about the culture then, I was like, it's always been this way. Like that sense of care for each other and dedication to lifting people up, like to hear that those values echoed in her speech, I was like, okay, this has been around a long time. So I have no doubt that that'll continue on.
Fun fact, I think maybe we shouldn't say this, but I think the co-founder of Pleiades went to Carleton for undergrad. Is that true, Alli?
That feels right. I think
I cursed that fact, but yeah. She started Pleiades as a grad student at UNC. I think she knew where she needed to end up.
Interesting. 2 of the more unique team names too, Pleiades and Syzygy.
Yeah, they're adjacent. They're both. Yeah.
Do you think Syzygy's y'all's biggest rival?
No.
Who is it? It's no one, right? It's probably no one.
there's rival as in like who is in any current moment like our biggest threat, which isn't always the same as the team that we're like always have it out for.
I would say have it out for. Like I think that's more like I don't know. For me, it's like always been Texas teams.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting.
Because it's just like I like growing up like playing for Monbird and then playing Texas, like I always just like
and then double wide.
Yeah. It's just all the same guys playing on both teams too. And I'm sure they think the exact same like fucking thing about us too. So it's just like that. I'm curious about that mostly, I think, because you guys are kind of on a tier of your own in terms of like winning. So it's not really as interesting.
No, definitely we have rivals. Like we have.
Yeah.
I would say I'm sure it's different for different people based on the era that they were in the team, just because God, we've been here for so long that like we've seen a couple of shifts in it. But I think my personal answer is that it'll always feel good to beat Quandary. And I don't have it out for them, but it'll always feel good to end Quandary season. Sure.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
They've had a few good teams and some close games with y'all.
Alli, what's your answer?
That was my answer too, I think. The Carleton one's an interesting question because I think kind of coming onto the team and inheriting the win streak, like the fact that Carleton was the last team to beat us before that, I think was like built up, at least in my head, quite a bit. But then it just took us so long to actually see them again that like by then we had those competitive games with Quandary. Like we had, I think been tested more by other teams. So it maybe kind of went below the surface, I guess, in terms of a rival. I think Vermont definitely still lingers in my head. Like the fact that they beat us twice this year and then we just like didn't see them at nationals. I think for sure that's still like a question mark there. And also just like the competitor in me like wants there to be no asterisk. Like I want to beat them at their best.
I certainly would have been more interested in watching that final.
Yeah.
Live.
Yeah. I wouldn't have been, but Carleton, I think is the only college team that I have a losing record against because I was there my freshman year when we lost to them, and then the next time we played them, right? I think the next time we played them was Northwest Challenge, and they beat us again. But I didn't play.
We beat them at Queen City.
Oh shoot, so. You're right. Okay, maybe I don't then.
Maybe this will be a good time to shout out Durs in Ultiverse that I literally just learned of today. Do you know?
Oh yeah.
I'm assuming you know what Ultiverse is because you.
Yeah. I
are in
Ultiverse the heck out of both of y'all this morning.
Well, I didn't even know. I've been a schmuck going to Ultimate Reference for the last.
There's another one
years
now
right
that my friend Jack just told me about, and it's Ulti-RZR, and it's like a new Ultiverse. I don't know who made it, but it is maybe a little bit more front end developed than Ultiverse. I'm still partial to Ultiverse because.
Well, that's what I'm going to be going to from now on.
So we used Ultimate Reference because we didn't know about Ultiverse until this. Like I was at Windmill with Durs, and he's like, "Oh, you should use Ultiverse." I'm like, "What the hell is that?" He's like, I made it." And I'm like, "What?" So now we will always be using Ultiverse.
Yeah,
shout out Durs.
It's really useful.
And Matthew McKnight. I think Matthew McKnight also helped him make it.
Okay.
He said he helped. Durs was a little bit like, yeah, he helped.
Of course he would. Yeah.
But like, yeah. So it is interesting, Mike. They even got our fours teams on. I'm multiversing myself. How self-absorbed is that? But I'm multiversing myself right now. They have our fours teams on here.
Wow.
It only dates back to 2014, which is like I think the earliest the USA.
Yeah, he said he's working on pulling the data from whatever other database stuff before 2014 was on, but.
Quinn, you need to put me in touch with Durs because I don't even know how to access that API. I would love to.
He seems like a smart guy.
Or you know what? I'll just start sending him feature requests. And
maybe we'll get him on the pod and have the 12th UNC person on the pod.
Just to talk about Ultiverse, though, nothing else. You don't need.
I'm curious. You guys play Mixed Mini. This was on my mind. You guys play Mixed Mini with Darkside a lot. Who was your favorite?
Yeah, I did.
Are you still there?
Darkside player to play Mini with?
Passionately about.
Yeah, who's your favorite Darkside player to play with?
Oh, that's a good question.
That is a great question.
I need to cook for a second.
Yeah,
you cook. I have an initial instinct, so maybe I should just go with my gut.
Yeah.
But if you want someone to like give you a lot of feedback,
I know what you're going to say.
Yeah. He is like very invested in the success of Pleiades, and like every single session, if you want it, like he's not going to be too overbearing, but if you want feedback, like he's gonna, because he's shaking your head sometimes, but he'll give you like
who was it? Did you
she didn't say. I want to guess. I almost want to guess.
You guess.
Okay.
Yeah, you guess.
I want to say it's Siraj.
No,
but I know.
No,
I just
my guess
you said really invested in Pleiades, and I know Siraj loves Pleiades.
Does he still play on the team?
This was his last year.
No, Siraj is done. Gosh, this was his last year. Okay,
2024 was his last year.
This most recent nationals was his 6th year last year. His last year.
Right. I'm just. Is it one
Kevin?
of the?
Kevin is my answer.
Kevin's a great answer too. Kevin is a great answer.
All right,
Alli, you should tell them yours.
Okay, yeah, tell us.
Yeah, I said Andrew Lee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But, yeah. I think I would like playing with him. He's like his style.
For sure.
I like Kevin's style a lot too.
Andrew is really fun to play with. I would say those are my two answers. It depends on what mood that I'm in. I feel like Andrew and I can butt heads a little bit just because I like don't want to be. He's very knowledgeable, but he's also very forthcoming with his knowledge, and I like sometimes we get riled up at each other. I think, but yeah.
He's a know-it-all.
No,
you can call him a know-it-all.
No, he just knows.
I'll call him a know-it-all.
Okay.
I've actually been quoted. I have been quoted saying Kevin is my favorite Darkside player.
That's a great pick. I think that's a universally good pick.
Yeah, we played Wingdings with Kevin.
He was so fun to play with.
Teammates with him, and he was in like the height of his like shit talk era. It was just like, especially
he got us into trouble.
Like, yeah, we were playing these like adult teams at mixed regionals, mixed sectionals, and he was like really going at it. But it's just so fun. It's like fun to have someone that fiery on your side.
I actually don't know if I've ever heard his voice.
Oh my god! He's a deep voice. He's kind of scary. You guys should have Kevin on. If you're gonna pick a dark sider, have Kevin on.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he has a scary mustache too.
He does. He has the thick dad mustache.
Yeah.
Something else about. Oh, I wanted to. Not to turn this into a dark side conversation, but you just mentioned McKnight. I want to say that he is like the most, like his impact on the game for how many steps he takes and like how often he even
like
gets like above a jog.
That's such a good way to describe it.
It's insane. Like,
yeah.
I don't even know how to describe it.
No, that's a great way to
How are you
describe
that effective?
Yeah.
The chillest player you've ever seen.
He has absolutely zero chill in him. He has no chill.
As an actual human being, no chill.
Sure. But when he has the disc, he looks almost bored.
Yeah,
like
that's
he could not be bothered.
He does.
Yeah,
he could not be bothered.
It is a could not be bothered kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. I saw a clip of him like catch an under and take a timeout and drop the disc like immediately.
Oh yeah, no.
The other day, I'm like, what?
My favorite thing is a Matthew McKnight timeout because it's always.
It would tilt me so hard to play against McKnight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd enjoy it either.
Because he throws a bunch of bullshit too that always works, like lefty scoobers and shit. I'm just like,
I'm on. This year is the summer of the lefty scoober.
You know,
really?
someone
I need to
before your era.
This is my.
He's one of my teammates. This guy named Bart Watson, who's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's a 4-time club champion. He won with Stanford back in 2000. Multi-time world champion. He was like the originator. Not that there's an originator of the lefty scooper, but we played a local tournament as a Grandmasters team this past weekend, and he was definitely wheeling and dealing. Plenty of lefty scoobers.
Forgive me for not respecting my elders.
No, it's okay. It does kind of make me sad that nobody knows. Well, there's just there wasn't an ulti. Maybe now that there's an ultiverse, that'll be my feature request to Durs is like have a little history page, like a page of like top players or like most winning players.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
things
like
that.
Hall of Fame tab.
Yeah. Oh yeah, just put the Hall of Fame up. We're taking a quick break to introduce the Be Ultimate Playbook presented by us, Pod Practice. This is a new recurring segment where we ask elite players and coaches to detail a favorite play. The playbook will be published in its entirety on the Be Ultimate website as a free downloadable resource. Okay.
Sweet.
All right. So this is our introduction to the Be Ultimate Playbook segment here. That was a shitty introduction, but I will cut that into a little bit better situation. So far we've only done offensive plays, sets, whatever we want to call them, and it has been a struggle actually for us to find defensive content, and has been it's actually part of our agreement with Be Ultimate to get some in there. So thank you for finding a defensive set. Before I click play, is there anything that you want to mention about what we're about to watch, or do you want me to just hit the play button? And can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can see the screen. I guess maybe a little useful to talk through it first so we know what we're looking for.
Sure.
Like Kooski mentioned before, we heavily scout everyone we play, but especially going into nationals. And this was a product of that scouting. We know that Santa Barbara loves their vert stack. We know kind of who their primary people are that they're looking for off the initiation. So this is like a kind of vert bracket set with kind of some specific personnel adjustments. So we know that we're like fronting Laura Bloomy is who we were highlighting here. Green headband, awesome player. And I guess maybe play it and then we can maybe pause when we like set up to it. I don't know if you have anything to
How about I'll play it through kind of once and then we'll do our best job to commentate over it and then play it back. with more
Cool.
pauses.
Sounds
Yeah.
good. It doesn't look like much of anything, like we said, is kind of the point of it.
Hopefully it's not too choppy. I think when I watched it, it was pretty clear and that it was
Okay, nice.
what you're. So a bit of a bracket here around the vert. Active switching in that lane.
Mm-hmm. And then we lock here.
And then you're out. Okay, cool.
Yep.
Are you out into a specific force, or is it a force middle?
I think we're probably forcing it back in.
Backhand?
Yeah.
Oh, a little piece
Ooh.
there. I didn't notice
Yeah,
that
a big
last
hand
time.
block there, yeah.
That's Bella
Hand
Russell,
block.
a freshman who we adore.
Oh yeah. I was watching finals next to the dark side coaches, and they were talking about Bella quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Okay, so Bella's pulling too, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So off the bat here, are you sending a couple people down for any specific matchups first?
Yeah. So kind of the main thing we're looking for here, it's kind of like in a traditional vert bracket setup. We have Dawn over top in the deep space. That's, her specialty. And then
sense.
Kaylin Lauder, who is like the most awesome player that I feel like no one has heard about for no good reason. Like if you want someone to stop someone from getting the disc, it's Kaylin. She will shut down the best player on every single team, took the best matchup on every single team. She's number 8 out there. She's matched up with Laura Bloomy. Yeah. So Laura Bloomy is in the green headband. Kaylin's like given that one-on-one matchup of just like denied front Laura. And then we have like someone sitting in the open side lane, someone sitting in the break side lane, and then a cap on the front of the stack. And then our handler defender like loose in the lane. That's 99 Macy.
If they happened to have come out in horizontal, did you have like a contingency?
They were matched
were
up.
You just
all of them were matched up. And
really?
They just know how to file into their vert bracket according to where they are. So if they were in Ho, we just would have in person with help probably.
Okay, cool. So the 1 is tight to the stack. Where is the 2 in the open side lane or the break side lane?
So it depends. It depends where Laura Bloomy is. Like if we would isolate these specific players, it would either be Julia Hasbrook or Laura Bloomy. And the order, the change to our vert bracket is that whoever's on that person is tight and fronting. So it doesn't matter where they are in the stack; they're tight and fronting, knowing that they have help coming from the open side, break side, and back of the stack.
You know what's interesting is like when we run junks or brackets, or especially around a vert, oftentimes it's because we don't know the personnel as well. And what's interesting to me is that you knew their personnel very well and are still matched up intentionally, especially against their main player.
Yeah, I think that's like a strength of this particular defense is we like achieve both the kind of benefits of having a bracket that is like taking away those primary spaces that people are cutting into off of vert stack, while also ensuring that the like key matchups that we want are set in place. So when we do lock into type person, we have like Kaylin on Laura, we have Teresa on Julia Hasbrook, like we have the matchups that we want. We have Dawn on someone that she can like be a little bit more poachy helping off of.
That's interesting. So is Dawn maybe intentionally she is taking a weaker matchup then, quote in quotes.
Yeah, that's the superpower of having Kaylin is that if Kaylin is going to take the best player on the other team, and then when we have Kaylin, Dawn can take someone else.
Oh my gosh, I love hearing the details of that. Actually,
So let's say they overload a side, like they kind of do to get it to whoever has the disc now.
Sorry, rewind
so if they overload a side, who's helping kind of fill that overload?
You're saying if they just double cut to one side?
Yeah, if they double cut to a side. So whoever's getting the disc now is like the second person into this space. Is there a responsibility of someone to kind of to cover that double, or is it maybe concede that one and then contain from there?
See Don coming in.
Yeah, Don comes into there. So are you conceding a shallow wide throw because it's like kind of whatever, and then containing from there?
Yeah. And
Okay,
I would say like
interesting.
in kind of our standard vert bracket, we would have another person who's playing kind of like an orbit role and would be responsible for taking that double cut. But here, like we said, like we're being intentional about taking away the people that we don't want to have the disc in their hands. And it's okay. Like we force them to reset the disc first. Like that's a big focus of ours, is just getting the disc in the hands of someone who isn't their like go-to center handler, make them throw the first driving pass downfield. And then like, it takes a second for Dawn to recover from that deep help position to match up on them. But like, I think that's something we're comfortable with.
Dude, I love this. We run this like, but it's not, we don't match up like you did with the person you're highlighting on that point. We just kind of run a box and then fall into person.
And then we get stuck with a bad matchup. We get absolutely burned. Like this is so like Bravo's going to run this year.
No. Okay, you're not in our division.
Yeah.
I think the being able to mostly remain with an appropriate matchup is not something that we have really discussed as a benefit of, like openly discussed as a benefit of this, but I think it's a very fortunate byproduct is like when we are running this
of the preparedness. Because you know.
But specifically when we're running this adjusted vert bracket, we're like, okay, we're vert bracketing except for you're guarding the most heavily relied on player and you're just guarding them. You're not thinking about anything else. Is like, they're probably just going to continue to be on that player because they're not looking to switch.
And if I'm green headband, what's her name again? Sorry.
Laura Bloomy.
Yeah. If I'm Laura there, I hate my life because it's a bracket and I have someone tight to me. That sucks. Like that makes it really, really hard. And it just makes her job. She already has a hard job being like a center point of their offense. It makes her job that much harder and that much more frustrating and that much more uncomfortable.
If you have Kaylin Louder on you, awesome. I don't like anyone in the division. If you have Kaylin Louder on you, you should probably like lay the fuck
just
down.
Clear.
Yes.
Just clear. Yeah.
She's, we should say her name like 20 more times on this podcast. I have no idea why no one is saying her name. She is.
How long has Kaylin been on the?
She started barely before Alli. She was a U24 mixed player past summer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, if we go through Kaylin's matchups across nationals, like Kaylin guarded Jolie Krebs first game of the tournament, guarded Cleo Phillips when we played Colorado, guarded Trout Waybright when we played Oregon, like Laura when we played Santa Barbara. Like every big name person who's like on those All-American rosters, like that's Kaylin's matchup, and she's gonna make their life miserable.
She's a freak. She's like an athletic freak.
It is crazy how little recognition matchup defenders get across all divisions. It's crazy. It's probably the hardest job in the sport, and they barely get any recognition.
She is kind of just an unsung hero of this particular iteration of the Pleiades roster because she was out for 10 months with, did she have a fracture in her spine? Something incredibly serious.
Oh, wow.
Like really bad. Was out. Wasn't even sure if she was going to be able to play in our roster because our defense is kind of structured around like Kaylin's going to take the best person and then Dawn is going to get therefore an easier matchup and then everyone gets an easier matchup. Like our roster looks so different.
Effect,
our roster looks so different even just without that one person, which I feel like there's not a lot of people on our roster that if you took them out, it would look that different because we do have a lot of depth. But removing Kaylin affected us in a way that maybe maybe other people anticipated. I didn't anticipate that it would be that stark with and without her, but somehow she came back after 10 months of not playing, not running, and was the second best defender on our team.
You mentioned that I think you had a specific adjustment to Oregon. I don't think there was a good clip, but is there anything from that game that you can share?
Do you want to answer, Alli? I can also go. I was just going to say, it's like kind of more or less the same thing, but Alli can elaborate.
Yeah, very similar. Like, we knew that on Oregon's roster, they were almost always looking to initiate to either Trout Waybright or Cyrus Lingfield. So we had Kaylin guarding them and kind of having that similar role of like, even if we're in some sort of other like bracket, you're just going to be keyed in on denying them the ball on that initiating under. They ran more of like a kind of split stack, like side stack into ISOs or just like one out in the isolation space. So it was more of that kind of like side stack bracket concept.
Which is what I typically think of when I think of your offense, although I didn't watch you play as much this year as I did last year.
You're talking about side stack offense?
Yeah.
That's kind of the bread and butter for sure.
Awesome. And I imagine it was pretty effective against Oregon.
Oregon gave us a good game. That was a fun game.
Yeah, it was really fun. It was close. I think a blessing and a curse of being Pleiades is that like teams will always play their best games against us. You know?
Another thing came to mind. I don't know how many close pool play games you've had in this run of yours, but a topic that Quinn and I have talked about is, do you have any thoughts around the importance of being challenged early in a tournament, heading into bracket play, and if that sharpens you versus wearing you out?
Do you have thoughts?
I was going to say, I think you don't want your first hard game to be in semis, which is kind of or quarters, which has maybe been a reality for us in the past. But I would say the line for me is like, you want to get challenged up until the point of needing to cross people. That's where, you want your O-line to get hard reps, but at no point do you want to have to cross anyone from D to O or from O to D. Mm-hmm. That's not what you want. So yes and no.
Yeah.
This year was particularly tough because we had to play 4 games on Saturday. Like that is brutal.
Yeah, because of the weather.
I know. I listened to your last episode, and you guys were very up in arms about the.
Thank you for listening, and we
scouted.
A lot of
we do our homework.
About...
We did. We were prepared.
That's true.
No, I think I agree. Broadly, I think that something that's so special about Pleiades and this kind of dynasty we've created over the last several years is like we have that drive within ourselves and like this standard that we hold ourselves to that is like totally independent from what other teams do.
It's kind of a shield of
like I think to be this great for this long, like it has to come from within. So I think that kind of broader scale theme applies in this context too, of like even if we aren't necessarily having like a close scoreline in pool play, like we have a standard of ultimate that we expect from ourselves that like we're going to be fighting to play regardless, and like I think that can prepare us well even if we're not like tested in a universe game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, do y'all after like even after some wins, like some good like a quality win, come away like kind of angry about it? Probably all the time, right?
I was pissed after the UCSB game. The end of that game looked like shit. Don't watch it. Nobody watch it.
Our O-line got broken 3 times in a row.
It was ridiculous.
Embarrassing.
I was pissed after that game, and essentially one of our coaches, Liam, was like, "You're not allowed. Nobody's allowed to think about it. Nobody think about it." But I thought about it. I'm not listening to Liam.
I think it's good to think about it. In my opinion, in my experience, it's good to think about it. Yeah, I think it's good to stew.
Well, maybe not, I don't know if I would say stew, but
I like to stew.
I think it's as well. I think it's an oversimplification when coaches and leaders tell people to try to like brain hack yourself and imagine that just never happened, because that's just not reality.
Lobotomize yourself.
Yeah. And I think it was you, Kooski, that was saying when you're down 13-9, like you're a bit of a realist. Like, I think you should. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think you should live in the moment, and it doesn't mean that you're going to stop competing. It just is like, damn, this is probably not going to happen if
we got to go.
We got
to do this. Yeah. 100%.
Well, cool.
Sweet.
Quinn, you have anything else?
Nope. Unless y'all have any questions for us, since apparently you scouted us. I don't know if you got anything came up, but
no, I wish Atkins were here because I admire the fire that he plays with.
I was thinking this a couple times when you were, especially when you were talking about. I think you said when you said type 2 fun, especially when you said that. I was like, actually, Kins just said that to me. I think that you would enjoy.
I would like to
each
think
other's
it might be
perspectives.
self-indulgent, but I like to think maybe we would get along. Like I think
That
we've got a little bit of anger.
That to me is unpredictable with Kins. Actually,
Okay.
that's not true. Kins gets along with everybody.
I've
Off
seen
the
him
field,
be feisty.
Kins. Yeah, oh for sure. Off the field, Kins gets along with everybody. On the field, he gets along with almost no one, which
Okay.
is
Yeah.
kind of funny. Which is extremes, but it's like kind of true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like playing on USA, the amount of people that
God.
ask me, I'm like, what's his deal? Like, what's wrong with him? I'm like, hey, just relax. You don't know him. I understand how he can be on the field, but you don't know him, so it is funny. Like
We use the phrase frisbee hate,
Frisbee
and I
hate.
imagine a lot of people frisbee hate,
everybody frisbee hates Kins. Everybody.
but we love them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I have a question. Do you have a favorite game from college nationals that you watched?
That I watched or that I was
Or-
like involved.
I'm
I
sure
guess
you
you could
watch
answer
the ones
both.
you're involved with.
good good point. For me, Quinn, I mean, I don't know if you have a good answer because you were remote and are only probably watching mostly Mama Bird games and bracket games. Let's see here. It would honestly to watch. It was the two semifinals on the lower. It was your game and it was the
Cowboys.
slow dark side game.
That's brutal.
Yeah.
Those were just crazy, entertaining, fun games to watch. For the Mama Bird side, I do want to comment on that because the team means so much to me. And gosh, maybe our Minnesota game, the quarters game, because it was like a really competitive, tight one. Then the weather was really bad at that point, and it was like sort of the epitome of our like the leveling up of our offense in general in terms of being able to possess and reset the disc. And actually Nathan Buckles and I were just chatting on Friday evening about it. And I had mentioned to him that this year's team, more so than any other team that I've been a part of, really took care of business against like the mid-level nationals teams and below. Whereas like, I think, when Quinn was on the team, we would maybe beat them like 15-12, 15-13, but we were beating them 15-8, like pretty consistently. And his theory was because we held consistently and could reset the disc consistently. And a big part of that was because of him and Seth Wells. So, anyway, that was a really long answer. It was fun to watch that game.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah, I mean, my 2 was y'all's game against Quandary was awesome. Although sloppy, like the weather lended it to being sloppy, and like just knowing myself being in those conditions, I would have been just so miserable. And just watching like everybody like fight so hard in that game was super awesome. And something I love about watching y'all in particular is how confident you are in your resets. Like better than any college team, maybe dark side. Like it's just they're so good in the resets.
It's crazy.
It can always bail out in the resets. It never you never turn the disc off, just like fluky reset stuff, which is incredible. And then on the men's side, probably Bird, Brown, even though Bird kind of fell apart at the end. Just like again, the weather was so crazy and a bunch of sick plays. So
it's a fun one for sure. Now, I want to ask you more about resets.
Watching,
if both of you are handling on offense, and it's the thing that's the most important to me. But I don't want to keep you forever either. I could
talk about this forever.
Me too. I actually know where to be.
We got the game at 8.
True.
All right, maybe I'll keep you for like 10 more minutes then, because
happily.
I'm curious to hear what you do to as a team to work on them so much other than mini. Maybe there's just mini. And is there a way that do you know, like, what is it about Pleiades and honestly Dark Side that gets people to buy in on the importance of resets so much? Because I think so many teams, especially in college, they don't really value possession enough. They would prefer to just send a sweet throw downfield. Everybody wants to look downfield. Everybody wants to make the sweet throw, the long pass. When it's like the resets to me is what the beautiful part of the game is.
Yeah. I think like Pleiades takes pride in being a very systems oriented team. Like, sure, we've had superstars like, all of these years, but at the end of the day, we succeed because like I think a phrase that I've heard my teammates use a lot is that like, I think because of Jessi Jones and her coaching, like Pleiades is always like greater than the sum of our parts. Like we are able to perform at a level that's greater at the sum of our parts because of that commitment to the system. And when it comes to reset specifically, like, that's what we do at our first practice, and every practice getting back from a break, like we spend most of the 2 hours just like repping our reset patterns and back to the like finding joy and doing the hard things. Like, sometimes it's like, oh, we have to do resets again, but it's like, no, like there's always something that you can perfect about doing your resets that you didn't do the last year or the last time. I don't know. It's just like part of being on the team is you have those days.
Yeah.
Kooski,
I have. This is an interesting question. I hadn't really thought about what makes us such competent reset throwers on Pleiades, and I agree with everything Alli said. And I honestly don't really have anything to add. I would say like when I went back like after nationals and went back and looked at the bracket, and I was looking at like the really strange parity of like this team beat this team, but that team beat this team by even more, even though you would have thought it would have been the other way around. Like looking at the games that Stanford had with other people is strange. And then looking at the 5-point gap in our Stanford finals, like I think that game particularly exemplifies how hard we had hammered in our fundamentals.
Yeah.
Is like
did you see that Lepler tweet?
About how many passes we've thrown?
Yeah.
Yeah. And also Alli had the most touches in that game, like anyone in the game.
Alli.
Like I think that is another time that I was like, it's evident that I don't want to make assumptions, but it felt like they didn't scout us, because it's like, why would you make the team that like we were in rough shape, like people were hurt, people were really, really tired. Yeah. Like, why would you make us just throw a bunch of resets, which is what we would just love to do. We would just be so happy to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. By people were hurt, like Kooski and Erica had fractured feet that they were playing on in that final.
Oh my god!
Holy shit!
Like, if you had forced us to play like a full game of like big space,
I don't know,
cutting up, like it might have looked a little different. Yeah. But like we as a team are just so content throwing as many passes as it takes. Like that's just our MO. Like I don't know. As soon as they just started throwing that zone every time, we like looked at each other as the O-line and we were like, okay, we're gonna score.
Thank God. Yeah.
Thank
God. Thank God.
Yeah.
I did not. Oh my God. I was reaching my limit. I didn't have it in me anymore.
I mean, not to call Stanford their one trick pony, but I think their zone was what they considered their strength. So maybe that's why.
And then like that's a great idea against like a perhaps less patient team like Vermont. But I don't know. Like Stanford, one trick pony, I think is a relatively accurate way to describe it. They develop little pieces that are very role specific, and they don't always create like the best club players ever. And Jessi is just going to develop the heck out of like holistically develop every piece of the roster so that there's not going to be weak points that you can just attack with a gigantic 4-person cup.
Yeah, gosh, I just want to nerd out more. So sorry, Quinn. I actually used to coach the University of Iowa, the women's team, Saucy Nancy, back from 2011 to 13. And we were kind of the one trick pony team. Like we didn't have a ton of history as a program. We had like a culmination of talent that came together and were able to make some deep nationals runs. You may know who Robin Fennig is. She was commentating at Nationals as well. What played on the 2011 team was like a big reason why it kind of vaulted us into like a good trajectory. But we would just run a ton of zone. Basically, I learned I spent a spring in Seattle, learned some stuff, and we just like did that over and over. And it was enough to get us to quarters, semis. We lost to Oregon every year. But Lou Burris was coaching Oregon at the time. You also may be too young to know.
I don't know that name.
I'm sorry if it's insulting
I know Robin
for
Fennig.
me to.
I just want to throw that out there. But.
Okay. I don't want to. I should say it. I apologize if it's insulting to just assume you don't know things because you're young.
That's okay. A lot of names I probably don't.
Yeah.
Lou Burris is like one of the most legendary coaches. He coached Syzygy before too. He went to Carleton, coached Oregon for a long time. I don't know how many titles he's won. A lot. But they were the holistic team. He had us scouted to a T. He knew everything about us in and out. Yeah. They had different ways to beat us. One of the years we were up, I think we were up 14-12 with a disc on the goal line to win, and we lost that game. Okay. And a little bit of bad luck, but after they broke us that point, it was because they were prepared. There was no question. They were more prepared for the moment, and that made the difference at the end of that game.
Yeah, there's definitely no denying that you can make a good college team without holistically developing your players.
Brown on the men's side.
Yeah, for sure.
They can build a bunch of pieces.
I will say I love watching Brown play, but I also texted Quinn.
Watching Jacques and Leo play.
I love dominators. I just love dominators, and I think they do it really well. Obviously. But I did send Quinn a text the other day saying like I want to interview someone who was one of the guys who's just standing in the back of the end zone with his hands up, calling him coach.
Yeah, exactly.
And then spiking the disc after they touched it once on the break side on like uncovered. I'm like, God damn it.
He's a national champ. So
yeah, good point. Yeah, more than I can say in the college division. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Super fun.
Yeah, that was a blast. That was very fun.
It's good to get to know you. Are you all, is Phoenix coming to US Open, or what is your schedule?
I've never been to Colorado before. It's my first time.
Oh.
Me either.
Welcome.
Oh yeah, what should we know?
We will do our best to stop by your sidelines and say
I'd
hello.
love to say hi.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Cool. Sure. All right. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, for
Peace
sure.
out.
Bye.
Peace.